Hey team, and welcome again. We are really lucky to have Luke Kerr Dineen here, who is the instruction editor of golf.com. Welcome, Luke.
Hi, how are you? How are you doing, Baden?
Mate, absolutely fantastic. I mean, we're just super lucky to have you on, but to have you capture this amazing footage. This was on the range, Tiger day one. Was this Thursday morning before he went out there?
No, this was Tuesday morning, so this was before a practice round. And yeah, I just saw him hitting balls on the range. That usually there's just a massive scrum of people around him, and this time around he was relatively quiet, so I was able to sort of sneak in there and get a few great images of his swings. And the great thing about watching Tiger on the range is that there's two things that always stand out to me. First of all, he's never like just rattling off balls.
Right.
Hits a shot, he waits, he hits a shot, he waits, he talks. He's actually very social on the range. And the reason why he does this is because he's trying to sort of set his body tempo. When you're on the golf course, you're hitting a shot and then you wait 30, you wait 3 minutes and then you hit a shot and then you wait 5 minutes. So that's kind of very much the pace that Tiger moves at on the range. But then the other thing that's great on the range, which is the sort of impetus behind these videos, is that he hits all different kinds of shots constantly on the range. He hits draws, he hits fades, he hits high and low. Every shot imaginable is something that he does all the time when he's on the range. I was just sort of stationed up behind him, watching him rip drivers, and he was hitting a fade. He was hitting fades and draws. So I got one of each, and I put it out to sort of my social media following, and it's been pretty widely picked up. Where I said, "Can you spot the differences between the two swings?"
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got a huge response to it, and we can see here that the top one's a fade one and the bottom one's a draw one. Does he, just really, really quickly before we deep dive into the action itself, does he go fade, draw, or does he practice fade, draw, draw?
Yeah, he usually alternates.
Right.
What
Interesting.
I've found. I'm not sure if there's a hard and fast rule, to be honest. But he does tend to alternate from what I've seen.
Okay, well, let's get right into it. So, as we said, the top one is the fade swing, bottom one is the draw swing. So, is there anything you see straight away at setup that he does anything different there?
Yeah, so his setup looks fairly similar to me, perhaps a touch more upright. But I'm interested to hear what you say, being the instructor yourself. Like, what do you see in the initial in the initial setup? I mean, the big thing that jumps out to me is the tee height position. Really, like, I mean, look how much lower it's teed up on top, which is the fade swing.
100%. I mean, that's from this angle, without seeing it from the front angle, I think that's the biggest difference, isn't it? Is that the fade swing at the top is set really, really low, and then the draw swing is obviously set nice and high in the air because he wants that increased angle of attack on the way down. But then on the way back, okay, so if we see this initial direction, the top one, the fade, bottom one, draw, main difference here is, what do you think?
Yeah, so there's where you can start to see the differences creep in, right? And it gets really apparent. But look, the club head is outside his hands on the top because he's trying to, and this is contributed by the fact that the ball's teed lower. He's just really trying to steepen his entire swing, right? And that starts on the takeaway. It starts on the backswing. He's trying to pick the club straight up because he's intending to swing it down on that steeper path so he can sort of hit that into out fade.
100%. So you can see sort of at that point that, this is very much, it's going a bit more under his right forearm at that point, isn't it? So the one here, as it moves up, you can see it sort of sits above his right forearm. As he takes it away, a lot more vertical. His arms look more vertical here. The bottom one, people would say deeper. They look more across him at the top there, don't they? So both of them go pretty long, really, don't they? It's just got this little extra bit of wrist cock here at the top. They both get a little bit of hang. Probably the bottom one that he's trying to draw goes a little bit more across the line at the top.
Yeah.
See there?
Yeah, it's actually surprising how long Tiger's swing has sort of gotten. It clearly means that he's feeling good, right? And the one thing that I find interesting about top of the backswing position too is that on the you can almost see a little more daylight on the fade swing at the top of the backswing. You can see a little more daylight around his right shoulder. You see that? Of just under his lead forearm and his right shoulder. You can sort of see just a bit more of that. Whereas on the draw swing, you can see he's sort of just turned his arm path just a little deeper. He's turned a little more around his body, and his arm is sort of covering his shoulder. which just shows his arms are in a good position there to hit a draw.
Yeah. Okay. Now coming in, this is sort of the moment of truth and where things really, I think, start to change a lot coming in. So at the top one, which we know is a fade, we can see he's obviously trying to come down with the club a little bit more outside here. So you can see it sort of gets onto his hand line at that position, and then he brings the club around into impact at that point. And then the draw one, so what he's trying to do here is he's trying to hold his shoulders a little bit longer here and shallow the club a little bit more. So he's trying to obviously bring the club from this position and then slowly shallow it more and more this way to try and create that into-out path at the bottom. Is that what you say, Luke?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. You can really see that the club is sort of tracking down his right forearm there on the bottom, where it doesn't really touch his right forearm in the top video. That's simply because the club's coming in shallower. He's swinging more around his body and trying to hit that draw.
100%. And now I think post-impact, there's just huge differences here. We can see what happens here. So what happens obviously at the top one is that, especially at that position there, where you'd say the balls are relatively similar in their flight path, you can see how much more out his arms are at this position, would you say? And then this one is so much closer to his body and he's swinging a lot more left rather than out to the right.
Yeah, to me, like, this is, I mean, above all else, when you really break it down, you can see all the other stuff he's doing. But in real time, too, when you see Tiger hit a shot on the telecast or in person, this is the thing that always jumps out to me, is that when he's hitting his draw, his arms go so, I mean, look at where his hands are on the bottom picture there compared to on the top. They're just going so much more out to right field. The club's outside his hands. And you know, as we'll see in a few moments, when he extends to his finish, it's just something that always jumps out when you can see. Just keep an eye on his right shoulder. When he's hitting that draw, his hands are going so far out to the right and they're sort of wrapping around him. That momentum actually kind of pulls his right shoulder, so it's very much sort of facing towards the target. Whereas on the left one, it just doesn't. He's not really slinging the club around his body as much. And so the finish is a little more, it's less extended.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, it's such an interesting thing in that, for me, I mean, and I want to get your opinion on this, is that I think that he should be using the fade swing all the time, personally. I think that, Hank wrote a great book about him called The Big Miss. And I think his big miss has just always come when he's trying to draw the ball. Because especially with driver, I think with irons he can draw it pretty safely, but I think with driver, the problem that I see with it is that when his arms are going this far out, okay, so he's trying to draw a golf ball here with his arms this far out. So the further your arm's going away from your hip, the more you've actually got to try and hold the shaft inside the line to draw it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So if we look at him really, really quickly at the starting position here, and this will be really interesting to see what you think, but see, if that's where his arms are starting there, and we can see that as he brings it in, his arms actually get out to that position. So the further out his arms go, the more he's got to hold the shaft in to try and move it right to left. Now, I think that's quite problematic. I think if you watch like guys like Rory, when they hit drive, their arms are closer to their body, so it's a lot easier to hit that draw. I find with him that because his arms are so far out, it takes a lot of holding the shaft in, and then he's got to use his hands a lot here to shut the face, which is where his big block comes from, which we saw on 11, I think, at the Masters on day 4 sort of thing. He made a great recovery. Whereas the way I sort of see this on the top, when he's hitting his fade, he can let the club stay outside his hands a bit more, and he can go round with his arms in front of his body, and it all works together a little bit more rather than trying to hit out to the right with those out arms.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think you're exactly right. And look, like he's Tiger Woods, he can hit the draw, and he often does. But I think, what you see there is that for every draw he hits, it just seems like 2 or 3 get away from him a little bit. As you were saying, his arms sort of extended out there, so his club's trying to work back down under that plane, and invariably what ends up happening in order for him to try to do that, because the club's moving so fast, he ends up having to sort of tilt a little further back, which A, isn't great for his back, but B, what happens is because that just movement at speed is just really hard to execute, right? The club's coming down, sort of the arms are coming down in front of him. He's trying to get the club to come down inside of him, so he ends up tilting. It's very easy to overdo that by fractions of an inch, and fractions of an inch means that massive block outright that he ends up hitting, or his hands sort of take over and he snaps it left. What we saw at the Masters was him hitting that fade that you love so much.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think it worked so well. And I was watching today earlier on when he played, what was he on? He was on the 9th tee. So water all the way down the right. He's got the Pacific Ocean on his right-hand side. And he will never in a million years hit the draw there. Like, he'll never start something because he just knows that he's got that flair. He won't be able to start something right. So what ends up happening on that hole is that he ends up double crossing it a little bit because he's sort of thinking, oh, I've got the water over there on the right. I'll just hit my fade swing. But the problem, I think, sometimes with the arms being that far out on the way down is that he can double cross it. And he does that occasionally with his irons as well. But it's the lesser of two evils, isn't it? I think that the little double cross that just little pull on him that doesn't fade back is 1,000 times better than him trying to start something right and hook it back.
Yeah, it just seems like every time he hits draws with any regularity, they start getting away from him. I think Rory's sort of like that too, a little bit. I mean, Rory his swing is a lot different. It's hits draws in a different way, but he sort of when he's trying to hit draws, there's a hot second there where it gets perfect, and then there and after it starts you start seeing these big right misses that creep in.
I couldn't agree more. And the one thing, just in wrapping up, that I would say that is very similar about the two of them is that they probably do have two different swings, both of them, don't they? In that Rory swings it so differently with his irons than he does with his driver. So they both look like they're trying to sort of hit fades with their bodies pushing around and their arms working to the left a little bit, I suppose you'd say, with their irons. And then when they're hitting driver and it does get away from them, they're doing the opposite of that, aren't they? They're sort of trying to start things further right and then draw them back. And that's when things tend to go awry for both of them.
Yeah, exactly. And they both don't have the strongest grips in the world either, so that's sort of a contributing factor. There's a lot of face rotation in Rory's swing, which is one of the reasons why he gets so much power. But I think that's something you also see here with Tiger Woods, that it just makes it hard to time. And he's got incredible hand-eye coordination. He's got incredible sort of feel, so he can do it. But in 2000 he was sort of hitting an awful lot of draws. But I personally think in this stage of his career, he's such a smart guy. He still hits his irons incredibly well. And like you were saying, his iron swing is the fade swing, effectively. It's teeing the ball up higher, trying to get that little bit of shallow, and trying to work the ball right to left is when the problems, I think, start sneaking in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I just love to see him. As you say, I think it's sort of his bad back has actually been good for his swing because he can't increase his shape and hang back as much. So he might as well just keep going with it. I love it. I think that's why he's playing. And to be honest, I think at times he probably looks like he's swinging at the best he's ever swung it because he uses that fade swing, saves his back. And, I think it just gives him so much more control.
Yeah, I agree, and that was the one thing that I was really, that I was really hoping Tiger would understand, is that the best players in the world, or I shouldn't say the best players because Tiger is one, but like the longest-lasting players, they realize that you just have to adapt. Your game's never going to really be the same as you get older, so you have to find a new way of doing it. And for a while, Tiger Woods wasn't really interested in playing that game, which is why he kept coming back and getting re-injured. He'd sort of recover, he'd hit the range, he'd hit it hard, he'd practice just as hard as he used to, he'd swing just the way he used to, trying to do things that his body couldn't do, and he'd re-injure himself. And there was just a point where he thought, I might never come back, which really drilled it into him that, no, he can't practice as hard as he used to. No, he can't swing the same way he used to. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that he can't compete. And that's sort of, the Masters was just such a wonderful moment for everyone, but also obviously for him, because that was sort of a validation of that Tiger Woods can win any time he tees it up. He's not going to win the same way he did in the year 2000.
No, absolutely, yeah, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that evolution. Personally, I'm loving watching it happen. Hopefully he can go out tomorrow and have like 7 or 8 under or something like that, and somehow get back in contention.
I know, that'd be great.
Luke, I can't thank you enough. You're in the media centre there at Pebble, are you, at the moment? Is that where you are, in the media centre?
I'm in the media center in the empty interview room at the moment. So just had Justin Rose come through. So
Oh my God,
one of my favorite
fantastic.
things on tour. So that was great.
Incredibly jealous. Maybe, in the coming years, I'll be able to be there with you. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your insights.
Oh, of course. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on.
All right, Luke. Speak soon.
All right, cool.
Bye.